Something else is getting in the way of the 818 again. This is the top I've been working on, and I don't think I posted any videos on this yet. 3 Fridays ago, I was intent on getting out here and finishing the top so that I could actually put this on the car and start working on the windows. And instead, my first real house project that I've had to do since I moved in came back to bite me. So this is going to sit for another couple of months probably while I tackle a project inside. And while I don't normally do home projects on my channel, there's a lot of channels out there that already do house renovations and stuff like that, and B, it's not really where my passion is. I do think there might be some aspects of this project that other people might find useful to be able to see, so we are gonna do a short series on the home project. So let's go inside and talk about what's keeping me from finishing this, my first passion. My wife had been sick for about 3 weeks, battling some kind of sinus or respiratory type infection. She was testing negative for everything, but she was constantly coughing, sneezing, congested, and exhausted. And she kept complaining that our bathroom smelled wet and moldy. And so I started to dig to try and find the source of the problem. I had initially thought it was flooding from the outside of the house. My house is L-shaped, and this bathroom sits in the inside corner of that L, and there are no gutters in the area, and we've had a lot of torrential rains over the last 2 months in Houston. So my suspicion was that all the water was flowing to that corner and then flooding and rising up over the slab and coming in. I pulled the garden tub out and got under there and could not find any water or mold under the tub or in your up under the bench for the shower. And so you can't see it in this picture, but I actually punched a hole into the shower from under the tub and was pretty sure I smelled very strong mold smell and could see some blackness. So that's when I busted this hole that you see here in the top and could see just massive amounts of mold and rot. So the shower had 3 walls, the 2 outside walls, and then this half wall of glass above it. And the 2 outside walls, it turns out, had a waterproof membrane on them, but the half wall here had nothing, no waterproofing at all. It had unpressure treated 2x4s, thin set, tile, and grout. That was it. And so every bit of water that landed anywhere on that wall soaked right through the grout and into those 2x4s. And so I got the rest of the tub surround out of the way, and you can see lots of just really nasty mold up in there. Clearly, what my wife was smelling and what she thought was making her sick probably was making her sick. And so the top half of that wall, the studs were completely rotted out and just came out in dust as I began to demolish that wall. And down at the bottom, you can see just how terrible the mold was at the bottom. And this is the end looking down. You can see that this board is just completely rotted out. And then as I started to pull the tile off the top, you can see how the boards just literally came out in powder form. I mean, I couldn't even pull them out as boards. They just disintegrated. It reminded me of a kid being out in the woods, and you come across a tree that had been falling down for 20 years, and it would just disintegrate when you stepped on it or tried to climb on it. So I had to demo everything out of there because I did not know, just looking at this one wall here, whether these back 2 walls here had properly been sealed and would have any mold or rot in them. So it all had to come out. Turns out that the back 2 walls were fine. but there was really no way to know that without ripping it apart. So that's where we are now, and why I'm not going to work on the car for the next couple of months. So to replace the rotted shower, I had two options. I either could just fix it right where it was and put it back like it used to be, or upgrade it. And so what true DIYer doesn't upgrade when they have the option? There was a garden tub that set kind of catty cornered here that had been used maybe 3 times in 9 years. And so we decided to rip that out and expand the shower to make it bigger. You know, I think a great size for a shower would have been about 4 foot by 7 foot. But I've got the issue of this massive window right here. And so a 4 foot by 7 foot would have ended a little over a third of the way into the window. And so I would have either had to cover part of the window up on either side, or try to just let the shower wall split the window and then still try to seal it somehow. We are going to take the shower from this wall all the way to the end of the window. We're going to build a wall that comes out here, and we'll have a shower that's 4 foot by a little over 9 foot. Now, obviously, when you're getting that big, a lot of things are going to be custom. I looked all over the internet trying to find somebody who'd done exactly what my vision was to do. Didn't find anything that was exact, although the guys at Stone Coat Countertops came real close. So I'll link their video below in the description. That's similar to what I'm going to do. And you know, we're going to follow that basic method, but we're certainly going to do some things that they didn't do, like we're going to deal with a window. But I'm going to keep the 2 drains, and it'll slope to both sides. I've got supply down here, hot and cold, for where the shower was. I've got supply down there, hot and cold, where the tub was. So we will have controls and shower heads on each end, controlled independently. I did not want, you know, after the mess I had, I did not want any grout in this shower. I've never really liked grout anyways. This is the first shower I've ever had that had grout in it, tile. It's so hard to keep clean. You know, water likes to gather in the grout, and then it starts to turn black, and you got to scrub it, and it's not waterproof. So I wanted a grout-free shower. And so the vision I had from just my past projects was I could use epoxy, like I did my desk in, to seal whatever I made my shower out of, so that it would be waterproof and groutless. I originally started on the path of concrete because that's what I had experience doing, making concrete desks, concrete benches, things like that. But the weight of concrete to create panels for the full wall would have been way too heavy to pour. I would have had to basically you know, do almost like stucco, concrete the walls in place. I wouldn't have been able to pour them and get them smooth and slick and epoxy them and then put them up. Each panel would have been several hundred pounds. And so that just wasn't going to be feasible. So I started looking at other solutions. That's when I ran across the Stone Coat SCC. The SCC guys. They've done 2 different methods of that. They've done MDF boards covered in epoxy, and they have done styrofoam panels covered in epoxy. So we are going to do both, actually. So the back wall here is obviously going to be fairly massive. That will be made out of a styrofoam panel covered in epoxy. And then the 2 end walls can be 1 sheet of MDF covered in epoxy. The reason I want to use a wood product for the 2 end panels is that's where the shower doors mount. That's where anything that we have to mount to the walls can go. The back panel can be styrofoam. I've got a sample piece I've done here to get my color, make sure I've got my colors like I want them. And that's just pink foam with epoxy and fiberglass on it. You know, that doesn't look great. I didn't sand all the bubbles out and put a clear coat on because I was just testing colors and durability. So for those of you who got questions about it, panels are perfectly fine once you put that fiberglass and epoxy on them. You can't do anything to them. So you could screw a towel holder or a soap holder into them, but it's going to be a pretty thin layer of fiberglass that it's going into. So I wanted wood on the two end panels that would give us some extra bite if we wanted to be able to screw anything in or mount anything. Obviously the shower doors will be there. So we're going to waterproof the MDF and then put the epoxy on it. So we shouldn't have any issues with water. The back panel will be 3 pieces of the foam glued together and then covered in fiberglass and epoxy to create one giant piece that we install all at once. The bottom will be a custom concrete pour. So the guys, I've got a plumber coming in. This is one thing I wasn't comfortable trying to do myself. He's gonna do all the sloping and make one giant concrete base. Obviously concrete's not waterproof, it's porous, but we're going to cover it in epoxy and make it completely waterproof. So that's the plan. They're coming in the morning with the jackhammer to bust all this out, relocate the drains, and start building the wall right here. And so we'll do a video at each phase. We probably won't do one every day. We'll do one at each phase. Once we get the concrete work done on the bottom, we'll do a video. And then as we waterproof the walls, we'll do a video. And then as we complete as we begin the stages of the custom epoxy panels, we'll do several videos there because it's gonna be a fairly intricate process to make these things completely waterproof. The SCC guys put these panels in and then they silicone the joints. I don't even want to have to silicone joints. I may wind up with silicone just in the 2 back corners, and obviously I'll have to have silicone around the doors. But around the window ledges, around the insets for the showers, around everything else, I want to epoxy everything. I want to have 0 seams in this thing. So we're going to see if we can pull that off, and we'll do the videos on that. So you guys check out the Stone Coat Countertop guys videos. If you're interested in this type of project, they do a great video. And then over the next 3 or 4 weeks, we'll be getting the videos out on this project.